Hi, everybody. It is good to be here. I am Carolyn Byers. I'm the Education Director at Madison Audubon. And today we're going to be talking about plants. So before I get started, I want to say that usually I am out in the community teaching about 200 to 300 kids a week. Right now we'd be wrapping up the school year. We are doing that, but it's different. And we are trying to bring you all of the programming that we can online right now, because everybody should still be able to be outside and explore nature. And nature really helps us stay grounded and feel calm, and it gives us a place to go to recharge. And I also want to say that nature is for everybody, no matter what your background is, what the color of your skin is. And we're trying to take steps to make sure that everyone can feel safe out in nature. So if you're watching this, please welcome anyone and do the same, because nature should be for everyone. And we know that that's not always the case. But today we're going to be talking about flowers, and our programming can all be found on the MadisonAudubon.org webpage, and it's on our Safer and Funner at Home page. So there are all kinds of games and lessons and activities and video lessons like this one. We counted the other day. This is number 18. What? That's crazy. So there's 18 videos now that you can watch either as an adult or as a kid to learn about nature. So check out the Safer and Funner webpage if you haven't yet. I think it's pretty cool, but I'm a little biased. Okay, so flowers are awesome. They're just neat. I'm a bird nerd. A lot of my knowledge is about birds and other wildlife, but plants are really important because they're the base of our food chain. So the habitat that is in an area, the plants mostly, determine what kind of animals can live there. And a lot of animals rely on plants and flowers for food. So it's important to know about plants. Flowers are really important because they are a food source for all of the pollinators. So all of those insects that either use pollen for food or nectar, and they move from flower to flower, and they transfer pollen from flower to flower. Flowers are a big part of that, of course, because they're the ones providing the food. But flowers become food for other animals too. Some just eat the flowers. I once watched a woodchuck walk around a big lawn filled with dandelions, and she would just walk, and chomp a flower. Walk, chomp a flower. She was only eating the flowers. It was really cute. So some animals just eat the flowers. Other animals eat the fruits or vegetables I guess they're all technically fruits. All of the fruits that flowers grow. So a flower is the first part of a fruit. So a strawberry was once a flower. A blueberry was once a flower. So flowers are super important. They're also pretty and really fun. So there's lots of reasons to learn about them. So I have a little bouquet here that I collected in my front yard. So the flowers we're going to talk about today are things that I think you can find even if you're not able to go out into a really natural space. So even if you're just taking a walk around your neighborhood, you might not have a yard. If you're taking a walk around your neighborhood, you can probably find these growing in the cracks in the sidewalk. And a lot of people consider these plants to be weeds, and weeds are really just plants that are growing where we didn't plant them, where we don't want them to grow. So weeds are pretty cool. And the first thing I think of when I see flowers is usually the color of the flower. And some flowers come in lots of different colors. Some of them, like the dandelion, they have usually just one color, maybe a little bit of difference, like maybe there's some brighter yellow ones, some oranger ones, but for the most part, they're pretty much the same color. So when you're looking at a flower, looking at the color is the first step in trying to figure out what the plant is. And if you've seen some of my videos before, you know that we love field guides at Madison Audubon. And a field guide is just a book filled with information about a topic, usually with lots of pictures, which I love. So plants also have field guides. And this field guide is to the plants of the Arboretum. So not all plants or flowers are in this one, but a lot of them are. And there's pictures of the plants, close-ups of the flowers, and information about them. And a lot of field guides are arranged, at least for plants, are arranged by the color of the flowers. So it's good to look at the color of the flower. The structure of the flower is also important too. And for this, I'm going to show you our Planto card. This is online. You can download it, print it out if you want, just use it on your phone or another device, and you can take it on a walk around your neighborhood and try to find all these plants and get bingo or Planto. But there's a few different flower structures on here. So this one here is called an umbel, and that's where there's lots and lots of little flowers that all group together and they look like they make one big flower. There's Queen Anne's lace is a good example of this. Let's see, there's another one on here called a panicle flower. And that's another group of lots of little flowers, but they're sort of, they look less like one big flower like this and more like tiny, tiny little flowers at the end of the plant. There's also one called a spike flower. So these are just all different, I suppose I should say the spike flower is little flowers growing off of one big long stem. So these are just all sorts of ways that groupings of flowers can be arranged on one plant. They don't always just look like we think of a flower. All right. So when you're looking at the flower, or a flower that you see, try to figure out, is it just one flower? Or is it many flowers all grouped together to make it look like one flower? All cool things to think about. All right, then the next thing I want to talk about are all the parts of a flower. And we're not going to get too into the weeds here. So it's not important that you learn all of the names for all of these parts. But it is cool to know that there are science names for all of the different parts of a flower. And if you wanted to look them up, you could. So I'm going to show you this picture in here. And it's a little hard because all the words are backwards for you. But this is just a really general flower. And the parts of this flower are broken down and drawn really simply so that you can see them. So the stalk or the stem is what supports the flower, and that heads down this way. Then there's also, this is called a sepal, this little green part down at the bottom. And these can take a lot of different shapes, and sometimes they can be different colors and look like flowers too. So on this one, this green thing right here, that is the sepal. Then there are the petals. Can also be called all of the petals together can be called the corolla. Everybody say corolla. And the petals on this little flower are yellow. And then there's also the reproductive parts of the flower, the ovary, the style, the stigma, and the anthers. So, oops, I'm off screen. Oh my goodness. All of these parts that are sticking up here are part of what helps the flower to make seeds and fruits. And these are the parts that the pollinators are interested in usually. All right, so we looked at the parts of the flower up close. And now I think we should look at some flowers up close. What do you think? I think it would be nice to start with a dandelion because everyone is really familiar with dandelions. They are bright yellow, they grow in lawns, they're really fun to make bouquets with. So I have a new microscope and we tried it out during the feather lesson and I think it worked pretty well. So I'm going to try this again and we're going to see if we can look at some flowers up close. So it's going to be A little bit shaky. This one's not ideal for this. I have another microscope headed towards my house soon. But I think we can make it work. So I'm going to clip this onto my phone. I'm going to get really close first. I'm going to turn the little light on. Oops, not that light. That light. This will help us see the flowers a little bit better. And now I'm going to clip it onto the back of my camera on my phone. Okay, so now you can see me this way. And then when I turn my camera view around, you see the microscope. And it's not in focus right now, but it will be. I'm going to drop this down a little bit too, so it's easier. There we go. Okay, let's see. Ooh. Ooh. Those little curly things look really cool. Let's look at some petals first. If anybody has comments, they can, you know what? I'm not seeing any comments right now. I wonder why I'm not seeing comments. I can write a comment. If anyone has typed in comments and I haven't seen them, I'm so sorry. Maybe I'll need to turn my computer on so that I can share, I can answer questions, because that's a really important part of this. Well, this microscope is super cool. I'm going to turn this around. I was very close there, huh? I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to start my computer, and while I'm doing that, I'll show you this flower up close, okay? Because I really want to be able to answer questions, and I don't like that I can't see what you're asking. Hold on a second. And this computer starts up pretty quickly, so it shouldn't take too long. All right. So what I was showing you there were I believe, the anthers of the flower. And what I was about to say before I realized I couldn't see comments is that I am not a flower expert. I took some botany classes while I was in school because I was forced to. And I forget a lot of the things I learned about there. So it's really cool to revisit this stuff with all of you. But I might not always get it right with flowers. So I will tell you if I know that I'm certain about something, but I also do a little bit of searching along with you while I'm, oh, look, there are so many comments. Okay. Now I can see your comments. That's good. So send me questions if you've got them. Anyways, the parts I was showing you before, let's flip my camera around and sneak back in there with this. And zoom in here. This magnifying glass, or this microscope, is at 60 times magnification. So you can see here all of the flower petals. These are the flower petals, the bright yellow ones. Those are the ends of them. You can see the little crinkles in each one of the flower petals. And these curly things here at the tips of those long structures, I believe that those are the anthers. And those are the things that hold pollen. And let's see if we can go look in the middle of this flower. Ooh, what's that? Sometimes I find bugs on them. I really like that. It is so cool seeing this up close. Okay, I think we should look. Oh, Violet says she sees my dog. Yep, his name is Tucker. He's usually quiet, so he gets to stay out here. My cats, they're not so quiet. Let's see. So now we're looking at the underside of this flower. And those green parts there, those are the sepals. Those were the under parts. It's under the flower. This is hard to show you, this part. Oh, that's easier. Maybe not as interesting though.
The sepals were hard to show you on this one. Let's go back and look at these curly anthers. So this is up close on a dandelion. We're looking very close, 60 times magnification. My phone's having a little bit of trouble focusing. There we go. Those are so cool and curly. Love them. So later today we're not going to be doing 8-minute notes. We're going to be doing a Microexplorers lesson where we draw things life-size and up close. So if you're watching now and you want to do this later in your nature journal, try to remember something cool that you want to see or that you want to draw larger than life. So maybe you want to draw those really curly parts to that dandelion. And Christine asks, what are you using to magnify? I can show that again. This is the microscope I have. It's an attachment for my phone. Bought it online. It was $15. If you Google phone microscope, you'll find it. And it works pretty well. It's a little hard to do live like this, but I think I'm making it work. So it's a super fun, I want to say toy, but I suppose I should say scientific tool. It's really fun. Okay, so that was a dandelion. Now I want to show you all Creeping Charlie. And this is one of my favorite garden weeds because it's really fun to pull out of my garden. It comes very nicely. But this is a cool plant because it just grows low along the ground and you'll start pulling it up and it'll end up being something like 4 feet long because it's just grown along the ground. But this has a really neat long flower. It's like a little tube. And so when a pollinator is going down to get the nectar, it has to have a long, it either has to be small enough to get all the way in there or it needs to be able to have something long to reach the flower or the pollen. So this is a really cool flower to look at and it's nice and light purple. So I'm going to flip my view around so you can see this up close. And let's see what we can see. So this is the edge of the purple petal, and you can actually, if I can get it in focus, see that there's some really neat hairy parts. Well, they're not actual hair, but they look like hair as you enter the flower. And that might be to keep insects moving towards where the nectar and the pollen is. And you can see maybe that this flower creates a long tube towards the back of the flower. Maybe we can look at it from the side. And that up there on the top, that long thing, I believe is the stigma and the style. Oops, turn back on, computer. Sorry it's so shaky. And that as soon as I get it in focus, my phone tries to focus on something else. There we go. And that's part of the reproductive parts of the plant. Let's look at a different one. Pretty cool. You want to see a leaf up close too? This is the Creeping Charlie leaf. You can see all the veins. Carries nutrients throughout the leaf. I just love the green colors, especially when the light is shining through it. It's so luminous. Ooh, it's hard to focus though. There we go. Ooh, look at that. Neat. There's the flower again. This is a great purple color. So that would be a cool one to remember for our nature journaling later. All right. I have 2 different types of buttercup. Oh, but you know what? Before we do that, I want to show you a chamomile flower, or chamomile. So I grow some herbs in my garden, and chamomile is a good herb. People make tea out of it, out of the flowers. And it's a tea that it has no caffeine in it, so people always drink it before bed. But I think it's tasty, so that's why I grow this flower. But it has a very, very small flower, and when I think of a flower, this is what I think of. So it's neat to see flowers that look like this. So this is a little chamomile flower, and it has very thin leaves too. They are not what I think of when I think of flower leaves. So I'll show you both of these up close. Let's turn it around. And if I can see the comments now, so if anybody has questions or they want to see something, like go back and show us the flower again, type them in and I'll see what I can do. Okay, so here is the center of that chamomile flower. It's very shaky. And I can only focus on one plane at a time. So because the flower is rounded, not everything can be in focus all at once. So now you're looking at a side view of the flower. You can see the little white petals, coming out of the middle there. You can see the sepals down below. There's the stalk. Ooh, can I get you in focus, stalk? I think you need to be closer. The microscope has a little shield on it to keep anything from damaging the lens, but it's also hard to get things close enough with that there. So there's the sepals, there's the petals coming up, and here's the top, the center yellow part of that flower. And all of those parts are so small. We're looking at this in 60 times magnification, and you can barely see what's going on there. They're all so small. That's how small this flower is. And let's look at one of those petals up close. Ooh, this one is a little bit damaged, like perhaps an insect was eating it. Can I get you in focus? Be a very small insect. And these flower petals come in sets of 2. There's 2 over on this side, 2 there. 2 over here. And these 2 are sort of pointing in different directions. Oh, that was a good focus. So that was our chamomile flower. You want to see the leaves up close? I'll try to find a good one. So this is very different than the creeping Charlie leaf we were looking at before. That one was very flat and rounded, and there's a lot of surface area. This one is very thin and spindly, delicate, much less surface area. So, and this flower, or this leaf, is also so small that you can't really see the veins in it. At least I can't. All right. So we had a dandelion that we saw up close. We had some creeping Charlie. We have our little chamomile. So tiny it's hard to see on the screen. And next, I want to share 2 different buttercups. And I don't know which kind of buttercup they are, but they both have small yellow flowers, and there are 5 petals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A big part of identifying flowers and using a field guide for flowers is counting the number of petals they have. So it's a good thing to practice, counting the number of petals. So I think I will show you the smaller one first, and then we'll look at the bigger one, okay? Let's do that. So I will reverse my camera again. Thanks for being patient through all these back and forths. So here is our tiny yellow buttercup. And let's see what I can get into focus. Those things sticking up out of the middle. Oh, it's so hard to see because this flower is so small and my hand is so shaky. So those to me look like they're all the anthers with maybe a stigma in the middle. And remember, these are the parts that help the flower make seeds. And as the pollen moves around, as insects move the pollen around, that's how the flowers are pollinated. There they are again. And there's some little orange spots down at the base of the flower. Let's see if I can get that in focus. And those are just, oops, those are just colors on the flower petals, but they might help to attract the insects down to where the pollen is. Let's look at one of the petals out there. The petals to me look a little bit fuzzy, like they have a lot more texture when I see them up close like this than when I'm just looking at them with my eyes. Oops. It's having a lot of trouble focusing on this yellow. So this is our little buttercup. And I wonder if we could look at the sepal down below. This is the underside of the flower. It's a little harder to see the colors on the underside. It's much paler. So this is the underside of the flower. You can see the yellow petals. You can see the anthers peeking through there. And then those green parts right near the top, those are the sepals. And there's the stem. The stem looks very hairy up close. Ooh, that's cool. All right, now I want to show you the bigger buttercup. Let's see if the inside looks different. Oh, it does. Let me try taking this off. Oh, it's so backlit. Yeah, that doesn't work. Well, on this larger buttercup, there are much larger anthers. Look how big those are. And there's lots of little spiky things in the middle there. I am not sure what those are. That would be something that I want to look up at the end of this lesson. It's always good to keep learning. And if you have a question, you can go find either someone who knows the answer or go find a resource that has the answer. Oh, look at those anthers. They look like Ritz crackers on little round Ritz crackers on a little stem, I think. Let's look at a petal. Well, the petals are curled, so it's very hard to focus on one part of it. Because remember, I can only focus in one direction at one time. That's not going to work. Let's try to find a sepal. Those are a little fuzzy on this one. Oh, look at how big. So they're not real hairs like on a mammal's body, but look at how long those hairs are. That's why it looks so fuzzy with just my eyes, because there's so much going on there. Let's look at the other side of the sepal. Oh, that's a petal, the yellow petal. There's the other side of that green sepal. Oops. You can see the veins in it. This is a pretty cool flower. I think it's my favorite so far. I love exploring with my microscope. Violet asks why no flowers are green. You know what? I am not sure if there are no green flowers. I am, like I said, I'm a bird nerd, so I can't say definitively that there are no green flowers. But flowers, their color is a large part of what attracts a pollinator to them. So some pollinators do use smell to find their flower and to find the pollen. But a lot of them use color. Insects don't necessarily see the world the same way we do. They can see a little different. They see differently. They see light differently than we do.
So they might not see it the same way, but color is really important for attracting an insect to the flower. And since there's so much green in nature, if the flowers were green, it would be harder for pollinators to find the flowers and harder for us to find them too. But that's why I think green is at least not a very usual color for flowers to be. Yeah. So the next thing I have to share, thank you for that question, Violet. I'm really glad you asked that. The next flower I have is one that I actually have never seen before, and I have no idea what it is. So if you know, if you're out there and you're a botanist watching this, send me the answer. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look it up later. But this flower was just growing really low in my grass, right next to all the buttercups and dandelions and creeping Charlie. And it has some small leaves, and these leaves grow out of the same spot on the stem. And it has a collection of, well, it has 2 flowers that are in bloom right now. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4 that are getting ready to bloom. And let me count how many. It looks like there's paired petals. And they might be the same, like just one petal with a split in it. So when they're very small now, when we look under the microscope, we need to check to see if the petals are next to each other really tightly, or if there's just one petal with a little split. And they're white flowers. So let's take a look. Let me flip this around, make this big. Let's go look at this tiny flower. Oh, it's so tiny. All right, so those white things sticking up are those anthers again. And you can see what I was talking about how it looks like there's 2 flower petals next to each other, but I think it's actually just one that has a little split in it. See, look, it only goes down about halfway down the petal. So this petal has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or this flower has 5 petals on it, but it looks like it has 10 when you're just looking at it with your own eyes. Most of the anthers we've seen on the other flowers today were yellow, and these ones are white. And that is another thing I wonder about. Why are these ones white and the other ones were yellow? Let's look at the side of this flower. I wonder if I can show you a good view of that here. Those are the green sepals. They start at the base of the flower. Maybe let's try this way. Oh yeah, that's easier. No, it's not. Hold on. Let me rip off some parts of this flower. There we go. So these green sepals, they start at the stem, where the stem connects with the flower, and they curl up around the flower. So those green parts. And you can see the white petals in there and the anthers peeking out. This is a really pretty tiny flower. Let's look at the bud now. Oops. Oh, look how hairy it is again. I think the big thing that I'm learning today is that plants look a lot hairier up close. There we go. This is the flower bud, the one that's waiting to open. And this is the tip of it, where you can just see a little bit of the white flowers peeking out. Really neat. There's another bud. Let's look at that flower up close again. Cool. Okay. So those were all of the flowers that I collected to show you. Does anybody have any questions, or does anybody want to see any of these flowers again before we move on to doing our nature journaling? Let me know. Type me a comment. Someone says that there are definitely green mums. So
there are a lot of crazy colors, flowers that humans have bred. So mums are one of those flowers that people really love, and so they breed them, they raise them, and there are a whole lot of different varieties that maybe aren't found in nature. So I'd be really curious to see if like the mums that are found in the wild, if there are green ones in the wild. Brenna, who is a bigger plant nerd than I am, she's our communications director. She's helping answer some questions on here too. She says there are a few green ones, a couple of milkweeds are green, and then she put a link to some of those flowers. So in the comments, you can check that out. All right, so I think if anyone types in questions, I can answer them, but we're gonna start in on our nature journaling now. So today I'm actually gonna journal with you because I really like the Microexplorer stuff. So for this lesson, I'm just going to use a piece of paper. If you have your nature journal, you can do that. So I'm going to put my name on the top of the paper. I'm going to write Miss Carolyn. And it's going to be backwards. Sorry, I can't write backwards quickly. And then we're going to write the date, because to be good scientists, we need to keep track of the date, because lots of things change throughout the year. The seasons change, temperatures change. And those are good to track. Ooh, Sharon says she might have an ID for the white flower, a mouse ear chickweed. I'll look it up later, and I'll let you know in the comments if you're right. But I just love the name mouse ear chickweed. That's fun. Okay, so back to our nature journaling. Oh, thank you, Sharon. Thank you for looking that up. That was really nice. The date is June 3rd, 2020. So you can either write out June 3rd, 2020, or you can write 6/3/20. And I'm going to write 6/3/20. Okay, so for today, you're going to draw 2 big circles on your paper. And they don't have to be perfect. You just have to draw circles. And in one of the circles, we're going to draw our flower life size. And in the other circle, we're going to draw it larger than life. Okay? And you can do this just from remembering what it looks like. And I'm going to show you on the microscope if you want to. So if you want, you can do it right now with me and use your computer to look at it up close. Or you could go outside and find a flower yourself and stop watching right now. I don't mind. All right, so I'm going to draw my 2 big circles. So they look like this. And I'm going to draw the dandelion because that was a really cool one up close. And I'm just going to hold it here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. That's not what a nature journal is about. It's just a way to help you remember what you saw and what you learned. So I'm going to draw mine really fast. It's just going to be lots and lots and lots of little flower parts. I'm going to draw the little sepals, and I'm going to show you what I'm drawing in just a second. And the stem. Okay, that was how long it took me, and that's what it looks like. It's not perfect, but it is about life size. Looks like my flower petals are a little long, but that's okay. So I drew this one life-sized. All right, and in this one, I'm going to draw it larger than life, which means I'm going to make it big. So like if you were on a phone and you zoomed in like that, that's how we're going to draw this, okay? And let me flip this around so you can all see this larger than life. And my favorite part were these curly, swirly anthers. So that is what I'm going to show you right now. And some of them just curl once, but some of them curl many times. And at least to me, maybe this flower does have, I'm sure it has a pretty rigid structure as far as how it goes and how it organizes its parts. But to me, they just look all crazy, all over the place, not really like a pine cone. You can tell there's a lot of rigidity to where each of the parts of the pine cone are. This just looks like they're all having a party. So that's what I'm going to draw. and I can't hold it and draw at the same time. So I'm just going to go like this. Maybe I'll add another curl in this one. Like that. Crazy curly parts. Okay, this is my larger than life. Let's pretend there's one coming into the screen this way. And if you have a magnifying glass at home, that would work too. You don't need a microscope. And the other neat thing is if you take a pair of binoculars and turn them around. So I know that a lot of kids and adults love just looking through binoculars the backwards way because they make everything look really small that way. But if you take your binoculars and get them very, very close to what you're looking at, like if the edge of your binocular was right here, maybe less than an inch away, it becomes a really nice magnifying glass, almost a microscope. So check that out next time if you have a pair of binoculars. Oh, and Brenna put a link on our nature journals too. So if you want to start your own nature journal, you can check out how to start a nature journal on our Safer and Funner at Home page. So I'm going to keep adding a few more curlies. For these flowers, our dandelion. And you know what else? Since I know what the flower is that I'm drawing, I'm gonna write dandelion on here. And you could write that you don't know what the flower is, and you can look it up later, or you can write it down if you know what it is. We can also, since this is our science journal, we can write some notes about it if we want to. So I could color it in if I have crayons or markers or colored pencils, or I could write about it. I can just use a pencil and write about it. So I want to say that these are a bright lemon yellow, bright lemon yellow. And I didn't just say yellow because the buttercups are way more of a buttery yellow. They're a warmer yellow, and this is a cooler yellow. Colors are really cool. There's a lot of different ways to describe colors. And the stem is a very pale light green. Pale light green. And then under the flower is a darker green, but it's still pretty light. So I'll say medium green. It doesn't have to be perfect. So, and those were, what are those called again? The sepals. Sepals, medium green. Oh, okay. Christine wants to see through the microscope again. Yes, absolutely. Sorry about how long that took with the delay. I gotta make it go back. Let's look again at this dandelion. All those curlies. And the flower petals. So the next thing I want you to write in your journal, after you've drawn it small or life size, and after you've drawn it larger than life, make a few notes about your flower. And then I would really like for everybody to write down something that they wonder. Because being a scientist is all about asking questions and looking for answers. And so if you're always thinking about things that you wonder, you're already a scientist. So there is a lot about this that I wonder. I wonder if I was right in all of the parts of the flower that I was labeling. I think I want to go back and review that again. I wonder exactly what it looks like when a bee visits a dandelion. Which parts of the flower are they touching? I wish I could see that up close. And I bet there's probably a video somewhere on YouTube about that. I might go check that out. And I wonder how many of these curly things are on this flower. I wonder how many petals it has, because there are a lot of petals. I wonder how the flower produces this lovely yellow color. I wonder what it looks like when a bee sees a dandelion. I wonder why people don't like dandelions in their lawns, because I like mine. I have a lot of wonders. If you have any wonders you want to share, I would love to hear them, because I think asking questions is really fun. So I have my drawing here. I drew it life size. I drew it larger than life, all the curlies. I labeled it a dandelion, backwards, I'm sorry. And I took notes on it. I took notes on the color of the flower, the stem, and the sepals. Now I'm going to write my wonder down here, and I have to pick one. You can write them all, but I only have space for one. And I'm going to say, I wonder what it looks like when a bee, or I wonder how dandelions look to bees, okay? Because I know they see the world in a different way than we do. Okay, so I have my wonder down at the bottom. So this is one of my favorite ways to do a nature journal page, because I love having different views of the same thing on the same page. So we're going to be doing some more Microexplorers lessons where I pull this microscope out and we look at things up close. So we're going to have one about insects, about pollinators soon. Maybe we'll do one with water critters, all those teeny tiny little organisms that live in our lakes. I don't know what the other ones are going to be. We'll have to see. So if you have a suggestion for what you want to see up close, add it into the comments. I would probably love to do it. Okay, so I am about done here. If you want to do your own 8-minute notes later, maybe with a grown-up or with an older brother or sister, you can absolutely do that. Remember, you divide your paper into 4 parts and you write about something you learned, something someone said, something you wonder, and you can draw something. And you can change those up. So if you would rather write something about a dandelion and something about a buttercup and something about the comment scrolled down, the mouse-eared, whatever the plant was, you can do that too. So you don't have to stop nature journaling just because I said we were done. Keep on going. All right, so tomorrow I want to let you know that at 12:30, so this is June 4th at 12:30, I'm going to be doing a lesson on secretive marsh birds. And this one is more of a lesson for grown-ups, but I promise if you're a kid and you're watching, ask your questions and I'll answer them, okay? It'll be really fun. I love marshes, and the birds that live there are pretty awesome too. And they're hard to see and hard to hear, so it'll be fun to learn about. And then tomorrow, so again June 4th, at 1:30, I'm going to tell all of you all the details of our summer camp. So we're going to be doing an online summer camp, and it's going to be so much fun. And I promise it'll be mostly showing you new ways to explore outside, and it won't be too much time on a screen like this. Okay, so join us then tomorrow at 1:30 to hear about that. Okay, thank you for being here for this lesson. I loved teaching you. All of our lessons are free for anyone who wants to watch. So if you love them and you have the means, please support us. Help us keep these lessons free. And we'll drop a link in the comments for where you can donate. But we welcome anyone. So please join us for other lessons, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Thanks.